Well, folks, good evening to one and all. Wednesday night, our favorite night of the week, iRacing South Africa, iRSA, iRacing South Africa, MSA Motorsport South Africa, Sports and GT Masters, GT3 2023, Porsche Cup 2023, and then the Clio Cup 2023 as well. So tonight, MSA Porsche Cup Series for 2023, round number 4, and we're coming to you from the Second Gear Production Studios down here in what is now dry, but it's going to be rather wet in a couple of hours from now in the friendly city of Cape Town. Joining me, the voice of West Promise Motorsport, Frankie Yennis. Frankie, good evening to you.
Yes, good day, people at home. Hi, hello. We come to you from Sebring International Raceway in Florida, where the outside temperature is 20 degrees, track is 25 degrees, partly cloudy, 4 km/h wind, and it is the 4th round of the MSA series for Porsche Cup, proudly sponsored by ASAP New and Used Motor Spares.
So, the man that's doing the homework in the background, Jaco Foster. Sorry, should I say Jaco Steyn rather, not Jaco Foster, Jaco Steyn. In fact, his best friend is out there. Jaco's in the 88. Jaco Foster is in the 000. He's done quite a bit of practicing in the earlier part of this evening. Peter van Zyl coming to join us as well in the 33 car. Nathan Victor, he's been blindingly quick, has Nathan Victor, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's at least on the front 2 rows of the grid, if not on the front row. Mark Devereaux also out there as well, and then obviously Jaco Steyn that rounds out the top 5.
Wayne Masters, lovely to see him. This is the second time that Wayne's out there in the Porsche Cup for 2023 in that number 20 Porsche. There is Ati Nagel out on the circuit, one of the drivers that should be at the sharp end of the field. Very, very competitive is that man. And then Low Wrigley in the 44 car, and he will certainly mix it in there with all the others, as that man as well, Gary, Robbie Teings.
Yep, Robbie Teings out there, and Herman Lazarus, the man from cheapercars.co.za, also involved with the Second Gear Talk Show. And then a new man, Rudiger Schussler, not a known name to us at all, and then Renier Hubert is out there as well. So, oopsie, up against the wall pretty hard was Renier Juvet. So, yep, that negates his first opportunity at doing a flying lap. He recovers the car to the pits. That's a nice thing about iRacing. It's escape, enter, and put your foot in the accelerator. There's not a lot of expensive body work to be done. Wild Rose Gin, the main sponsor on the Renier Juvet car, as was the three Juvet cars, the Lotus XCs and the Lotus, I can't remember which the other one was, that the Jubets were doing at the Samola Hill climb during the course of the weekend. So the qualifying times will be coming through pretty soon. Let's have a look, Frankie, at what that track looks like. Some reasonably well-known corners: the Ullman Straight, Sunset Bend, Big Bend, Hairpin, Fangio, wow, Collier, Tower, Bishops, and then turn 15 and 16, that's the Le Mans Complex. Jaco Foster, the fastest man, well, at the moment the fastest man, because he's the first man to complete a warm-up and a flying lap.
Yeah, with a 203.150, Robbie Teens 3/10 of a second behind him, followed there by Low Wrigley. That's just leapfrogged Wayne Masters into P4.
Jaco Steyn comes up onto the front row of the grid, so the two Jacos. If I remember right, Frankie, didn't they lock out the front row of the grid last time? Yes.
Yeah, I think
it was
you're
the
right.
two Jacos.
Yes, both Foster and Steyn, quite right.
Yeah, so a Jaco lockout at the front end of the grid at this stage of the fight. Wayne Masters in there as well. Nice to have Wayne Masters out there. A man, Frankie, that's done lots of main circuit racing in his time.
Yes, especially the northern regions of our GTI Challenge series that he used to campaign in there in Class A, and I think he still does, if I'm not mistaken.
To the best of my knowledge, yes, I do think he does. So there's another man that I expect to be pretty quick, Nathan Victor. If anybody's going to be up there with the Jacos, it's going to be this young Dave, Nathan Victor. Mark Devereaux, Atinagel, Herman Lazarus, Rudy Schuster, and Renier Juvet, all of them still to put a time up out there. So let's see how this one plays itself out. Nathan Victor, where does he get himself? Pretty sure he'll be at least in the top 4 once he gets a time up. He's working his way now down the Ullman Straight. We'll go from there into... it's almost a complex of corners. It does a turn and then it runs a little bit straight. Then it does a turn and then another turn thereafter. So it's actually a 3-piece corner if you want it as in... oh, Nathan Victor. Did I say on the front 2 rows? Oops. Maybe we should say where he's going to stand on the front row of the grid.
Yeah, Nathan in provisional pole with a 202.979, just outdoing both Jaco Foster and Steyn, dumping them down into second and third positions, ahead of Teens, Masters, Wrigley, and Lazarus. 7 cars have put up times so far. There were 12 of them out on track in the practice session. Have a look and see Rudiger Schussler, the new man, in P4 with a 204.348. So that's good to see this man up there. He's never done this before that we know of, and he goes and puts himself in P4 so far on the second row of the grid, and then gets demoted down to P5.
Let's see how Atinagel's going to play this one out. Peter van Zyl comes in at 9th position. Herman Lazarus drops down to 10th. And we're still waiting to get a time here for there's Mark Devereaux. And then Renier Juvet as well. That's a bit of a bad exit there for Renier. Let's see how this one plays itself out. Or is he going to place himself on the grid? Oh, he hasn't got a time up yet, and that's 8 minutes and 9 seconds. That means that he's going to be starting off the back of the pack, Frankie. The fastest lap at 2:02. There wasn't, by the time he went across the line, 2:02 left, unless he can do something blindingly quick. I don't think that he Porsche is going to make it around for a full lap and put in a time. He'll have to start off the back end of the pack.
Yeah, in that Wild Rose Gin Porsche.
Ooh, Jaco Forster.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's a new man on pole position with the 202.881. That is Jaco Forster. And between himself and Jaco Steyn is now Nathan Victor, who is sitting there in pit lane.
There you can see Jaco Steyn. He just came across the line now, and he cannot better his time. So 0.271 off the time of his best mate, almost at his best man. But in fact, I think Jaco Forster could have even been the best man at Jaco Steyn's wedding. They've been big buds for a long time. So the front row with less than a minute to go. Can anybody else? Well, Rudiger Schussler moves up onto the third row of the grid. Nathan Victor is into the pits, so he's not going to go any further. Mark Devereaux moves one up as he comes across the line, and he's 2.5 seconds off. So 11 of the 12 entries for tonight's race have put up a time, and Renier Hubert, I don't believe is going to make it through. Definitely not. No.
Not now. If he's going to throw that Wild Rose Gin 86 Porsche all over the place, then that's not going to happen. Then he will start in P12 on row 6. If he didn't lose it down the Ullman Straight, I think he might have been in with the outside chance, but now with no chance whatsoever as he works his way through Sunset Bend, because the time is up and he will qualify in P12.
Jaco Forster with Nathan Victor on the front row of the grid. The Jaco's not bedecking the front row of the grid. That's my word for the day, bedecking. It's Jaco Steyn and Ati Nagel that find themselves on the second row of the grid.
Yes, and then we've got Rudiger Schussler, Low Wrigley, row 4, Robbie Teings and Wayne Masters, row 5, Peter van Sale and Mark Devereaux, and row 6, Herman Lazarus and Renier Hubert. Only 12 of them out there, but let's hope that they're going to give us 45 minutes of some good action.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that they will. So let's give you a nice big screen look at this one. Let's have a look at that track map at the same time. There we go. We've got that one sorted out. And welcome to the folks that's watching us at home. It's we're keeping an eye tonight on what's happening on the Second Gear Productions. Frankie, take them off the line.
The lights go off and away they go. And it's a lovely start there by Jaco Forster. Look at Ati Nagel busy making his way through. He is going to go into that second. No, he stays there in P. No, he loses out. Well, he might lose out on that third position to Nathan Victor. The two of them are side by side, and somehow it's Nagel that stays there in that third position, just ahead there of Nathan Victor.
There was a Herman Lazarus got involved in that one, and we've got 4 cars that's out at the back end of the pack. I wonder if we're going to have a yellow flag situation. It's not impossible.
Well, I can tell you that Herman Lazarus was part of that one. Low Wrigley, Mark Devereaux, and Peter van Sale. They were the 4 drivers in no particular order that was involved in that situation. But right now it's all about the 2 Jacos, Forster and Steyn, P1 and P2, with Ati Nagel and Nathan Victor in P3 and 4. And they are now 3.4 seconds ahead of Renier Hubert.
Well, we know that the 2 Jacos won't fight one another too hard. They'll try and make sure that they look after one another's interests and try and break away from the rest of the pack. But Ati Nagel's got other ideas. He's within half a second of the back end there of Jaco Steyn. So I think Jaco Steyn is more focusing on what's happening directly behind him than anything else at this stage of the fight, because that is all he's got to play with.
Yeah, in that situation we had earlier on with those 4 cars, Gary, just before we went to that setup with those 4 cars, Rudiger Schussler in the red number 222 Porsche also got himself sideways and in a knot, and hence finds himself now in P11.
Yep, that's quite a bit of a gap, that, unfortunately. So let's have a look there what happened with Low Wrigley. Yep, you hear the knock. Let's go back to that one again. bang, there he goes into him. So that is what happened with Low Wrigley. That was where the whole incident actually started. Let's have a slightly more scenic look at that one, and we can see who it was that actually knocked into him. Yeah, that's the first two that went off. Let's go play with. And that was the end of that one. So it was Peter van Zyl, I think, was the man that went straight.
And Gary, earlier on, if you have a look just before that, I think there might have been slight contact between Robbie Teings and Schussler. And yeah, and that's what sent Schussler in that spin.
See Robbie Teings back right out of it at that stage of the fight, out of decency and respect for the man that he had touched, and also then to make sure that he's not completely out of it. And Low Wrigley finds himself in the pits. Back to the front end, Jaco Forster.
Well, it's all about that front four. That's 5.8 seconds ahead of Robbie Teings, Jaco Forster, Jaco Steyn, Atti Nagel, Nathan Victor. There's nothing between the four of them, and if it keeps up like this, technically speaking, they should be the first four cars at the checkered flag. In what order, I don't know. Gaza, 45 minutes? I'm sure we're going to have at least one pit stop somewhere.
Perhaps probably yet. I see Tristan de Nobrega is watching the live. Hi Tristan, good evening to you. Would have liked to have actually seen you out there on the track as well. And as he says, they are pretty tricky to drive around the Sebring circuit. Tristan, maybe you are a bit more knowledgeable than what we are with the fuel situation, and you can give us a bit of a heads up as to what your expectation is in terms of the fuel stops.
Yeah, Tristan cannot take part in this series because he does the GT3. I'm sure if he could, he'd love to take part in the Porsche Cup as well. But here comes Victor. Here comes Nathan Victor up on the inside of Atti Nagel. They are side by side, and it's Nathan Victor that slides up into that third position and just put up the fastest lap as well.
That's almost a bit surprising, because it was in fact Atti Nagel that was pressurizing Jaco Steyn of that front four initially. Okay, we are 3 laps into it already, but Atti Nagel surprisingly losing out now to Nathan Victor. The next thing now, 1.5 seconds between Nathan Victor and Jaco Steyn. Can Nathan Victor go and fetch Jaco Steyn?
Well, he's 1.4 behind Steyn, so it's quite possible as we ride aboard here with Nathan Victor, the man from Summit Racing, sitting there in that third position, and he is 1.3 behind second place man Jaco Steyn, who's 0.4 of a second behind race leader Jaco Forster.
See Peter van Zyl had an off track as well. Let's just see what happened with him. Oh, that's just a little bit too loud coming through there, but he backed right out of the gas and he made sure that all was well. And let's see what happened to Herman Lazarus. Oh, Herman Lazarus was right off the circuit. Let's just go a little bit further back. Let's see what we can pick up there. Oh, looks like he went off. That's strange. We're not picking up where he actually. Oh, there we go. That's the one we're looking for. Ah, he's behind Robbie Teings. Where Robbie can go, I can go. Nope, unfortunately, it didn't work that way.
Yeah, Lazarus now sitting down in that second last position with Low Wrigley 1 lap adrift. But we are aboard here with Jaco Steyn, 0.4 of a second between himself and race leader Jaco Forster. So it is Forster from Steyn, Jaco from Jaco in P1 and 2, busy working their way around the main straight, heading into turn number 1, the 90-degree left-hander. Through turn 1 they go, and a personal best for Forster, 204.048, and then also 2 PBs there for Robbie Teings and for Rainier Hubert is now only 0.5 of a second behind Robbie Teings, P5 and 6.
Nathan Victor having gotten past Atti Nagel. Remember I said 1.54. It's actually opened up to 2 seconds. So it's the Jaco Roadshow that's actually dictating this one so far.
Indeed, it is Forster and Steyn, and just sitting there with each other. Jaco Steyn of Gazoo Racing and Forster of JV Workshop. that's sitting there in that first and second position so far. And they are getting away here from Nathan Victor. They're just over 2 seconds ahead of Victor. That's in third position, and he's 1.7 ahead of Atinagel.
Frankie, I'm going to stick my neck out here. Jaco Steyn is not... Oh! Can you believe it? I was just going to say, Jaco Steyn's not battling to hold onto the back of Jaco Forster. He looks like he's staying there quite easily. And, having said that, a little bit too much pressure. And, unfortunately, off the circuit goes the main man. And, that's going to cost him pretty badly. Let's see how that one played itself out. The back end just stepped away.
Tail end just broke away there from him, and he watches them go past. He will rejoin there behind Atinagel.
Oh, that's going to cost him so much time. Well, that's not the way he wanted it to be. So whereabouts is Jaco Steyn right now? There you can see the one with the green around it. That is him going up the front main now, and that will be going down into turn number 1. Where's the rest of the guys? There they are. There's Nathan Victor. Nathan Victor is now a second off Jaco Steyn. And remember, that was 1.5. It went up to 2, and now it's gone down to 1. But also, remember, Jaco Steyn rolled out of the gas to not make contact with Jaco Forster. So that's obviously where Nathan Victor managed to catch up. There is Atinagel, and then let's pan a long way back, all the way back to there for Jaco Forster. Remember that, 6.2. That's the gap to Atinagel.
Yeah, let's see if that one gets smaller, but there's under a second between Steyn and Victor at this point. Here comes Forster, and right behind him, only 1.8 is the man in P5. That's the Team Bolt car. That's Robbie Teens, and Robbie's been hassled here by Rainier Hubert. It's just under a second between Teens in P5 and Hubert in P6. There's a Wild Rose Gin car chasing down the Team Bolt car, heading into that the top part of the corner that is going down towards a tower corner. That's where they're going through now. The leaders are busy making their way through Bishop and then into turns 15 and 16. That's known as Le Mans.
So just about 10 minutes in, 5 laps, because it's just over 2 minutes a lap. So on the 10-minute mark, we're busy with lap number 5. The leaders will be completing lap number 5. You're riding on board there with Robbie Teens. In behind Robbie Teens, there is Rainier Hubert. And then the man that had off earlier on, Peter van Zyl, he finds himself quite a long way further back, does Peter van Zyl. Let's see if we can pick up what happened with him. Peter van Zyl, there we go. That should tell us what happened with Peter van Zyl. That was that one.
That was that issue in the beginning with Low Wrigley and the number 4 car of Mark Devereaux. They were all involved. But here comes Rudiger Schussler. He sits there in P8 and he's just under 0.4 of a second behind Van Zyl. Now, I do feel sorry for Schussler because he was up in the top 5 when he made a contact was made between himself and Robbie Teens. Teens kept on and he was down in P11 at one stage of the game, and he's now worked his way up to P8 and he's pressurizing Van Zyl heavily. There's only 0.3 of a second between himself and Van Zyl ahead of him.
I think he's actually got the pace to hold the pressure like Jaco Steyn on Jaco Forster. Oh, that's a good... Oh, I was just about to say that's a good line coming in, and it was a good line. He was trying to get it into a straight line before the apex of the corner. Massive Cook sister session there on the steering wheel, but like they say in the classics, if you race a Porsche, if it doesn't feel like it's trying to kill you on every single corner, you're not driving it hard enough. And frankly, we know these Porsches with the rear mount motors, once the back end comes out, you've got one hell of a fight to keep it pointing in the right direction.
Yeah, you can ask anybody that drives Porsches on circuit racing for real. It's not an easy motor car to drive, but it's a lovely car to drive. But yeah, Rudiger Schussler, the new man to the Porsche Cup series. sitting there in P8 and pressurizing Peter van Zyl. A big thanks to ASAP New and Used Motor Spares and Parts. They are in Pretoria West, and we say a big thanks to them. We say a big thanks to Motorsports South Africa, because this is part of their series, and of course to Gazza Fleming from Second Gear Productions.
Yep, we had the Second Gear show last night. We've got the Second Gear Productions tonight. And then Saturday we'll split up. Frankie will go down to Kalani International, and he'll be there first of all the karting, and then going to KPL drivers. I'll be going through to West Coast, Weskus manne. Gaan 'n bietjie op valbaan wedrenne doen daarso. Dit gaan baie lekker wees. Emil Tiny Brunt, he'll be linking himself up with the guys at the KPL drivers. And, well, in fact, Emil Brunt, the man that's our radio man at Kalani International Raceway, our eyes in the sky, is in fact with us here in the studio. And, Tiny, good evening to you.
Good evening, Gazza, Frankie, and awesome racing here at the moment. And Nathan Victor, GTI Challenge and Polo Cup driver, doing pretty well tonight.
Yep, no doubt about it. And Tiny with us in the studio. Here's our man that's keeping an eye on what's happening. I see Tristan Nobriger says, if I'm not mistaken, I think they can make it to the end on fuel. Might need some fuel saving. So there's a man that's obviously been watching and taking part in the 6-hour races. That unfortunately has been cancelled for the forthcoming future now. We're not going to be doing any more of those specific races as we watch Jaco Steyn from Nathan Victor. Now remember, it was 1.4, then it went up to 2 seconds, then it went down to 1, and now he's on 0.6 of a second. So Nathan Victor can hold the pace of Jaco Steyn, or is Jaco just pacing himself? Maybe what Tristan's talking about, saving a bit of fuel, that might come into it as well.
Yeah, look, they didn't talk about compulsory stops, so if they fuel them fat towards the end, then they should be able to make it. Just lift off and coast towards the end, or lift off and coast in the middle section of the 45, then you can nail it towards the end of the race. But obviously this is what the guys are going to work out for themselves, if they're going to do it that way, exactly when and how. As we ride on board here with Nathan Victor, that's in that second position, half a second behind the man that's in P1, that is Jaco Steyn. Yeah, big hello to Tristan de Nobriger. He actually came up with an idea earlier on, saying, why don't we interact with the people? At first I thought it would be a bit difficult to do, but then again, there are other commentators that are doing it as well when it comes to real-time racing and iRacing. So Gary's got the old tablet out, and we are trying that tonight thanks to the idea that Tristan had.
Well, we've got to try and always reinvent and do, well, not reinvent and do something new, but always nice to try some new stuff. Oh, talking about new stuff, new is when you go to the front for the first time and you just miss the back bumper like that.
Yeah, Tristan de Nobriger, Gazza, more than just a train driver.
More than just a train driver.
He's gonna say something there.
Hy's nie 'n kakie, wat sou that called, a kaki gatsi. He's more than a train driver, Tristan.
Only a joke, Tristan.
But, well, I tell you what, he had some blinding pace in that last race where, yes, they were racked and packed and stacked behind him, but he had the pace to run with the... Oh, runs it wide, and Nathan Victor, he gets something back for all the practicing that he's done, and he gets it off the track slightly as well. So Jaco Steyn must be doing a bit of French there in the man cave. And he loses out to Nathan Victor. But I don't think it'll be too difficult for him to hold on. Remember, Atinagel is right in there as well. Tiny, Jaco Steyn, he doesn't often make mistakes whatsoever. That's one that we haven't often seen from him in his racing career with iRacing South Africa.
Gary, I'm keeping an eye on Atinagel, but I see Jaco Steyn is coming to the pits.
Yeah, there we go. There he is. There's Jaco Steyn. Let's see. Is it tires or is it fuel? And remember, Jaco's the guy that actually sets this one up. And he'll know exactly what the calculations are. So I do believe that, yep, no tires. It doesn't go up on the jacks. That must just be a straight fuel stop. Oh, he's standing quite a long time. Well, not too bad. Let's have a look at the standing time in the pits. The actual pit time as such. How long was he stopped? 12.2. So use that as a marker. 12.2 seconds. If Jaco's gone in, he hasn't changed tires. I don't believe he had any damage on the car. I think that's going to be our deciding factor as to whether we do have to have pit stops or not. Nathan Victor looking good.
Well, I just noticed that Low Wrigley is back out on track again. He just done a personal best there, and he's a minute and 35 seconds behind Mark Devereaux. That is in that 11th position. Here comes the man in P2 of iRacing SA. That is Ate Nagel. Here comes Jaco Forster. Still there in that 3rd position. 6.3 seconds ahead of the Ting Bolt man. That's Robbie Tings. And Robbie is under semi-pressure here from the Wild Rose Gin driver. That's Rainier Hubert, who is 1.8 behind Robbie Teens in that 5th position. And then a good old 15 seconds behind Rainier Hubert in P6. He's a 222 Porsche of Rudiger Schussler, the new man to iRacing. But he has got a high-flying Jaco Steyn behind him, just over 1.4 seconds between Schussler and Steyn. That's in that 7th position.
And then we got Peter van Zyl, but remember, of all of those people there, the only man that's done, it shall be referred to at this point as a scheduled stop, is in fact Jaco Steyn. So he's actually a lot higher up the pecking order than what that indicates. Then Wayne Masters, the next man coming through there, he's 7 seconds further back. But then Herman Lazarus, having had that problem earlier on, he finds himself a long way further back, and that's like 19 seconds further back. Nathan Victor, he's got no problems right now. He's just got to keep it nice and smooth and consistent.
Yeah, that group of cars that's at the back of the field, they were involved in that situation on the opening lap. That's why you find people like Van Zyl, Masters, Lazarus, Devereaux, and Wrigley all the way down at the tail end of the field. But there's Rainier Hubert in P5, 1.8 behind Robbie Teens. That's in that 4th position. Almost 20 minutes done of the 45. As we hop on board here, the cockpit cam of Rainier Hubert in the 86 Porsche. And that's what 1.7 seconds looks like to the man ahead of him.
Keep in mind that Jaco Forster, that started in pole position, finds himself down in 3rd place right now, and he's still got to make the pit stop. But I think let's have a look at the last lap times, how that one's played itself out. 203s for the top 3, a 3.6, a 3.5 and a 3.9. So that means that Ate Nagel's actually doing a pretty decent job.
That fight for P6, Steyn is 0.6 of a second behind Schussler. And there the two of them are. Remember, Jaco did make that pit stop. Whether he had to or whether it was scheduled, that we'll find out later on if the other guys do decide to go in. But either way, Jaco is in P7 and he is just under a second behind Schussler. That's in P6. So it's going to be, I think, just a matter of time before Jaco gets there. But when he gets there, he's got about 16 seconds to try and catch up to Rainier Hubert.
Oh, that's going to be halfway between simplistically impossible and kind of unlikely. But keep in mind that Jaco Steyn does not have to go into the pits again. So we will only really know how that one plays itself out once they've all been into the pits. And it would seem to be that everybody has to go into the pits. And remember, on 22.5 minutes, which is 1 minute from now, we're already halfway through this race.
Well, if the others are going to pit, I would think anywhere from about 25 minutes on. Well, here comes Peter van Zyl making his way down into pits. Tiny, and that's a very, very battered Porsche of Van Zyl that's heading down pit lane.
There's definitely been in the wars after the first altercation on lap number 1. But yeah, I think here from about 23, 24 minutes, maybe 25 minutes, you see some of the top runners come in.
It's hard to say at this stage of the fight. You know, if you look at whereabouts they are at the moment now. I mean, Nathan Victor's not under any pressure whatsoever. He's got himself 4.7 seconds on Atinagel, so he could pretty much decide when and how he wants to go in. The only thing that's going to come into play for the top 5 at this stage of the fight is where you come out. Who do you come out behind, and are you maybe then going to get held up? I think that's the main factor at the moment now.
Well, Robbie Teens and Rainier Hubert, there's just under 0.5 of a second between them. Here comes Forster. There the two of them come out of the Lamar corner down the Ullman Straight. The two of them are heading towards turn 17 as Nathan Victor's in the pits. 23 minutes into this race, the leader is in pit lane as we watch Hubert all over the back of the team's Porsche.
Are they going to go in? Nope, they're not. They're going to go straight past. So in they go into the next lap. Nathan Victor is already there in the pits, and the whole thing now is where does Nathan Victor come out as opposed to Jaco Steyn, because Jaco Steyn, remember, has already been in, and there is Jaco Steyn. He comes out into the front main, and Nathan Victor is on his way out of the pits. This is the one. This is the one. Here's Nathan Victor. Where is Jaco Steyn? And just behind him, there's Jaco Steyn. And Jaco Steyn is now all over the back of Nathan Victor. The two of them find themselves behind Rudiger Schussler.
Yeah.
And now that's going to be a deciding factor.
Now that's exactly what Nathan Victor didn't want. Yes, he wanted to be ahead of Steyn. That part he achieved, but I don't think he planned on being behind Rudiger Schussler at this point. He would have liked to have had Schussler behind him and try and get away from Steyn. Steyn will say, okay, fine, you are ahead of me, but what will make him smile is the fact that Schussler sits there ahead of Victor.
I think Jaco Steyn's basis now is this is my best chance, is right now. If he can't hold on to Nathan Victor at this point, and keeping in mind that Nathan Victor, as you said, has got Rudiger Schussler directly in front of him, then he's not going to get to him later on. So I think right now, if Jaco Steyn is going to be at full pace, it's going to be now. If he's going to make a mistake, it's going to be now. If he's going to make it count, it's going to be now. Rudiger Schussler, well, he's got his own race to run. He's not going to worry too much about the guys behind him.
No, and there's nothing between Victor and Steyn, just behind Schussler. Rainier Hubert in P4 is still crowding the back end of the Robbie Teams Porsche. There's just under a second between the two of them in that fight for third position as we ride aboard here with Rudiger Schussler in the 222 Porsche in P5, and he is 0.4 of a second just ahead there of Nathan Victor.
Rainier Hubert into the pits. Oh, Nathan Victor's just made a passing maneuver, just as we wanted to see that. And
Schussler's in pit lane.
Yeah, that is what happened there. So into the pits is Rainier Hubert. It's Rudiger Schussler that is in there as well. And Jaco Steyn also passed Rainier Hubert when Rainier Hubert went into the pits. So let's see who has stopped and who has not so far.
The first three has not stopped, including Wayne Masters and Herman Lazarus, but he sits down in P9. Masters is in P6. So it's going to be interesting to see when Nagel, Forster and Team spits exactly where Victor and Steyn is going to filter in. Will they leapfrog them? We'll have a look and see. There's only 0.7 of a second at this stage of the game between Nathan Victor and Jaco Steyn.
Well, Nathan Victor, 11, 16, 17. I think Nathan Victor's going to go back to the front end of the pack, to be very honest with you. But you'll probably find Atinagel. Let's see, where's Atinagel? Well, he's going up the Ullman Straight. Let's see, does he go into the pits?
Well, he's heading towards turn 17, which is virtually a double right-hander, and he'll come out there.
Yes.
Have a look. Will he dive in? He's
Yes.
going to. He
Yes.
must surely dive in on the last minute. He decides to put that 78 Porsche.
Okay, so that's him that's come in. Where is Jaco Forster? Linus Stern. Where be Brother Teens, the comeback kid in the Teen Bolt car? Surely he's going to go in, and yes, he does. So he's also in. So the question now is, where is Nathan Victor? He comes flying through, does Nathan Victor. And I do believe that he will now retake the lead. Will Nathan Victor? Although Atinagel is on his way already at the end of the pit lane. No, there comes Nathan Victor, comes through. And you'll see Atinagel on the left-hand side. Jaco Steyn comes through as well. So Atinagel regains that third position. And that ahead of Jaco Forster. That just went very wide. Oh, dearie me. Has he got problems?
No, just came out the pits in the JV workshop Porsche. And then parked it on the grass and hits the escape button. Goes back into pits, drops down to P12, and that sadly is the end of that if it comes to a top 3 or even a top 5 for Jaco Forster.
He's got electrical problems and it's called Eskom.
It's possible.
Yep, it looks like it, because all of a sudden you cannot pick him up on the screen. It's gone to scenic, which means you see there it's gone grey, and that means that he has gone out of the server. So maybe that electrical problem's got nothing to do with the alternator. It's a part of the motor that's called Eskom.
One of those things. You've got to feel for Jaco Forster should that be the case. And yes, as Gary was saying, for those at home, if you look at the leaderboard, you'll see that Jaco Forster is in that greyish colour and it says he's out. So that is probably power issues at home.
2056 and on our South African timing board. So let's go from the top down, Nathan Victor, and let's have a look at the gains and losses at the same time. Nathan Victor starting on the front row of the grid alongside Jaco Forster finds himself leading them out. Jaco Steyn, who started in third positions, up to second. Atinagel, that started alongside Jaco Steyn and that was in fourth, is now up to third. And then the Boltman, the comeback kid, Robbie Teens, he's got a problem. It's called Renier Hubert. It's not called Eskom. It's called Renier Hubert. They're still both in the top 5, which is quite well. But Robbie Teens has moved up from 7th up to 4th position.
But Gary, you just said the time was 20:56, which means it's nearly 9 o'clock. So then that can't possibly be electricity problems for Jaco Forster, because it would be between 8 and 10.
You remember that if you're on a battery pack and the battery pack runs out,
okay, if
before the
case,
electricity comes back on.
100% agree with you. Okay, I didn't think about that.
I cannot see that Jaco Forster, for any other reason apart from the batteries catching a light, would probably have left the race that he was looking so good, and he's right out of it completely. Jaco Forster, and I see Low Wrigley is still out there.
Right, let's go back to Steyn and Nagel, because there's only 0.7 of a second between the two of them, fighting it out there for that second and third positions. 1.7 between Steyn and the man ahead of him, that's Nathan Victor. And he is now fighting as Jaco Steyn to keep Atinagel behind him. On the other hand, Robbie Teens in P4, that's 23 seconds behind Atinagel. He's battling to keep Renier Hubert in there behind him, as Hubert is 0.8 of a second behind Robbie Teens. So little fights all over the place with 31 minutes done.
Yeah, I would tend to think that there would be bigger gaps by this stage of the race, but as Tiny predicted before the race started, the top 4 or 5, nothing much in between them whatsoever, and Tiny did predict that the front 4 would be very close to one another, and in fact it was spot on, because fourth place Robbie Teens is at 23 seconds off. Tiny, pretty much the way you predicted it?
Yeah, Gary, this is very interesting to see as well. I think from now on to the end of the race, the concentration levels is going to have to be so high. As you see Nathan Victor with the fastest time of 2 minutes 3.050. The concentration levels are going to be so high now, anything can go wrong. You could lose the rear end of the car and make life a lot more difficult for yourself.
So, the men we predicted to be in the top 4 was Victor Steyn and Forster. Forster is sadly gone. We've lost him from this one, so now it will be between Victor Steyn and Nagel. And let's not count out this fight for P4 and 5 between Teens and Hubert. Remember that Robbie cannot go after Ati Nagel well. He's nearly 25 seconds behind him, so he has to defend that 4th position and keep Rainier Hubert at bay and keep him in P5, but there's only 5/10 of a second between Hubert and Teens ahead of him.
That list you see on the left-hand side, that 14.9, that's the standing time in the pits for Nathan Victor, 12.2 and 12.1 for Ati Nagel and Jaco Steyn, and you can see how the rest of them have played out. That bad accident for Low Wrigley, it was in fact 3 minutes that he was stuck in the pit lane, standing dead still. And Wayne Masters, oh dearie me, let's have a look at that one. Wayne Masters.
Yeah, that's Wayne in the 20 car, heading down into Sunset Corner and just losing the tail end, stepping out there on that number 20 Porsche of Wayne Masters.
Would that be a classy way to dump it?
Probably, yes.
Kind of neat. Well, that's when adhesion is not enough, and unfortunately you just lose it out like that. Let's have a look at Rudiger Schussler. Let's see what happened to the 222, a new main to the series. Oh dear. That could have been
some connectivity maybe?
Yeah.
Connectivity issues, yes, because he just lost the track completely, and that's going to cost him big time. It
was almost like his foot lost the brake pedal, but that was definitely connectivity that created that one. 34 minutes, that means we've just got a couple of laps to go. 11 laps around about 11 minutes, around about 5 laps. So we're probably going to end up on around about 22 laps in total. Nathan Victor, class act for the day.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Schussler, because he's proved to me that he certainly can do this, that he certainly can drive, but now on 2 occasions he's had bad luck. The first one dropped him down all the way to P11, then he got up to P8, then he worked his way up, and then with connectivity issues all the way back down again to P8, 3.8 seconds behind Wayne Masters.
Herman Lazarus moves out the way for Jaco Steyn. And he says, look, you guys are fighting first, second, and third. I don't want to be a deciding factor in that. So he backs out of it, says, guys, you carry on. So there we've got a second and a third. They're right behind one another. And just ahead of that, there we go. That is Nathan Victor, and he's looking pretty decent right now. Low Wrigley's just had a outing that he went off the track. And he, in fact, clicked straight back to the pits.
Yeah, when you get onto that grass, you can hit that brake pedal. You're just going to slide on that lawn towards the wall. But no problems for that man. Nathan Victor sitting 1.8 seconds behind the combination of Jaco Steyn and Ati Nagel, with 6/10 of a second between the two of them. And they've got a 27-second lead on Ati Nagel. That is, on Robbie Teens. That's in that 4th position. And Robbie's only got 4/10 of a second between himself and Rainier Hubert as we watch Steyn and Nagel busy working their way around. That's coming out of turn 1, heading up towards turns 2, 3, 4 and 5 for that matter, before they get to turn 6, which is called Big Bend. And Ati Nagel right on the case there of Jaco Steyn.
As is Rainier Hubert doing a similar kind of scenario on the comeback kid, Robbie Teens. Robbie Teens doing the slightly tighter line than Rainier Hubert, the opposite of what we saw with Jaco Steyn and Ati Nagel. So the battle for 2nd and 3rd is on, the battle for 4th and 5th is on. Thereafter, I think it's all pretty much done bar the shouting.
Yeah, I think that's the only real fight out there at this stage of the game, is the one between Steyn and Nagel. The replay here, Peter van Zyl on the dirt. That's not where you want to go. That's going to cost you some serious time. as he recovers and rejoins the circuit once again. There is Rainier Hubert, who is now 2.1 seconds behind Robbie Teens.
Well, this one hasn't changed whatsoever. Atti Nagel and Jaco Steyn. Nagel, I think he's pretty hell-bent on getting past Jaco. If we look at the gains and losses, Atti Nagel up 1, Jaco Steyn up 1. So to be driver of the day, I think Atti Nagel feels that he's probably going to go one further forward. Although I must say, Rainier Hubert literally off the back of the pack, off the pit lane, up 7 positions, up into a very creditable 5th position, to my mind would be first choice for driver of the day at this point.
Yeah, well, we'll wait until the time is up, because I'm going to still look for a bad luck and for a fighter of the day. We'll get to that one a bit later on. Right now, the place to be is to watch Steyn and Nagel, as they're only 1.6 behind Nathan Victor. Nathan Victor's not far down the road ahead of them. In a wider shot, there goes Nathan Victor into that left-hander that is coming out of turn 5 and working his way through a big bend towards turn 7, which is called the hairpin. So that is first, second and third in the same shot, which means that Jaco and Atti is busy closing the gap there on Nathan Victor.
Ooh, Nathan Victor got a little bit out of shape there. He saw the back of the car bouncing around, and that's taken a bit more than a tenth out of it. In fact, through that complex, Jaco Steyn now catching up a little bit. Jaco Steyn 1.3 ahead to Nathan Victor. Atti Nagel just about 1.0. So pretty equidistant between the two of them. Concentration on what's happening in front and behind for the man in the sandwich there, Jaco Steyn. Either one of the three make a mistake, there's not enough time left over to be able to make it up again. You can't make a mistake at this point.
No, you can't. Approaching 5 minutes, there's no ways that you can get it wrong now. If either Nathan, Jaco or Atti get it wrong, then Robbie Teens will be there. 31 seconds in motorsport is a long time, but if you make a mistake, it will bring Robbie Teens right back into play, and then he will be in with a shout, which then means that you'll be giving Rainier Hubert a chance as well. So yeah, I agree with you. No room for error now as you approach 5 minutes.
For Wayne Masters as well, because Rudiger Schussler is having a bit of a comeback run here with the 222, and he's got his way right onto the back of Wayne Masters. Oh, the fastest that Jaco Steyn. Pressure.
Yeah, with a 202, the quickest driver out there is Jaco Steyn, that sits there in that second position. But back to the fight, Masters and Schussler, Wayne and Rudiger. Let's have a look and see what happens here. Can Schussler get his nose ahead of Masters? It's not impossible the way this man has been fighting and launching comebacks the whole race so far for 40 minutes. It's not impossible for Schussler to find himself ahead of Masters.
Ooh, a bit of connectivity problems with the two of them. But you can see just behind them is Mark Devereaux and then Nathan Victor. Behind that, 4 minutes to go. If Rudiger's going to do it, he's going to have to do it pretty soon. Jaco Steyn 1.4 off the back of Nathan Victor. Atti Nagel on the move once again inside of that 1 second marker to try and get onto the back of Jaco. Get to the back of Jaco Steyn is one thing. Pass him, different story.
Totally different game. Here comes Rudiger Schussler. Right there on that back bumper and under the wing of the 2-0 Porsche of Wayne Masters. And if they keep on like this, if they bog each other down, then don't write off Mark Devereaux. Yes, he's nearly 6 seconds behind Schussler, but if they keep on bogging each other down, then he could catch up onto the back of them. You would just have seen him in your picture coming into that left-hander. There the two of them go. Here comes Schussler. They're side by side, but the line will belong to Wayne Masters.
Yep, he's holding on to that one pretty well. But keep an eye on the driving style of Rudiger Schussler. He tends to brake very hard going into the corners. and then goes for the apex of the corner that he straight lines it pretty much coming out of the corner, and he likes to use that to get straight line speed. So you lose out under braking, but you gain all the way up the length of the following straight. Oh, look at this. They must just not make contact, and it's very close. They give one another. Well, I must say, Wayne Masters was actually very decent there. He could have just closed that line off to Schuster, and he didn't. He gave him fair chance. Now he slowly moves across towards the inside of the circuit and makes it obvious that he's not just going to allow the man to ride right around him.
Well, I'll tell you what, I give 10 tens to Rüdiger Schussler. He's not giving up, he's fighting hard, he's attacking, he's looking for different lines, he's looking for a way to get ahead of Masters, and then he's on his left, then he's on his right. He's trying to find a way to get through, but they are bogging each other down because Devereaux is now only 5.3 seconds behind Masters and Schussler.
Oh, look at this. Nothing much between the two of them whatsoever. And Nathan Victor will be coming around. It's 43.16. You'll probably find where Nathan Victor comes around, it will be to get the white flag, as they will be... No, maybe not. Maybe not. Let's see. Here he comes now. Nathan Victor. Does he get the white flag? Or will it be one more lap after this?
Well, we'll have a look and see. He's heading towards turn 17, going down the Ullman Straight towards a Sunset Bend. I think he's going to have to do another lap. I'm almost certain.
No, you'll have to do another
circulate one more time.
But will it show the white flag now? I think so.
Probably yes. Yep. There's the white flag.
Is that a checkered flag?
No, that's the white flag.
Sure. He's waving it kind of heavily there. You wouldn't have thought that it would be such a hell of a session. Here the next two come through. Let's check when Robbie Teens comes through, if we can pick up that flag. Looks like the marshal is so excited. I mean, that should be kind of more passive showing of the flag than that. Wow.
Hy's kwaad vir hy vlag.
Yeah, calm down, Mr. Startline Marshal. Let's check when Robbie comes through.
So we're heading towards the end of this one. Here comes Robbie Teens, and behind him is Rainier Hubert. For the first time in a while, let's come back down again, because it went up to 2.1. It's now come down to just over a second. So on the final lap, Rainier Hubert has not given up yet the possibility of moving into that fourth position.
Through Collier and through Tower is now where Nathan Victor's going. You'll see the red number 1 with the green box around it. That's the man that we're following down towards the start-finish line.
Yeah, he's busy making his way now through Bishop. That's turn 14. It's actually just more of a kink. Heading towards turn 15 and 16, known as Lamar, and then down the Ullman Straight he'll go to Sunset Bend, which is turn 17, the final corner. But Gaza, Rainier Hubert has not given up for P4
no.
just quite yet.
No, not at all. He's definitely not going to give up on that one, and he finds himself now within a half a second. Let's ride with Nathan Victor as he goes across the line.
Out of turn 17 he comes towards a checkered flag. The flag is out, and it's Nathan Victor that wins this one with 3 seconds in the bag over Jaco Steyn in that second position.
Ooh, Ati Nagel running very slow.
He just cruises across the line. Fuel maybe? I doubt
Quite
it.
possible. I see Jaco Steyn doing some donuts there at the end of the straight. Robbie Teens, and he is in a very strong fourth position.
Yeah, there was 1.1 between Teens and Hubert. Hubert finishes way behind him. Oh, Wayne Masters on the last lap. The tail of that Porsche steps out. Here comes Robbie Teens across the line, and 3.5 seconds. So I don't know what went wrong there, but there was 1.1 between Teens and Hubert at one stage of the game. Here comes Pieter van Zyl across the line, 24 seconds behind Reinier Hubert. As he works his way towards a checkered flag, and Van Zyl will end in P6.
Rudiger Schuster. I'm looking forward to seeing this man race again.
So am I.
He's had a pretty good outing. He shows lots of intent.
Yeah, comes home in P7, 10.7 behind Van Zyl. Then Mark Devereaux finishing in P8. He also got his nose ahead of Masters, that ends in P9 after Wayne got it wrong on the final lap.
Sure. Only 12 cars, but a pretty good race at that.
Yeah, pretty decent.
Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So let's have a look at those results. Nathan Victor, 24 points. He adds to his already pretty decent tally from Jaco Steyn and Atti Nagel. Remember that it was Jaco Foster that started in pole position, that unfortunately lost connection a long way back. Nathan Victor, that started on the front row of the grid, that ends up winning it. Jaco Steyn, that started in third, that ends in second.
Yeah, then Teens in P4, followed by Reinier Hubert, Pieter van Zyl, Rudiger Schuster, Mark Devereaux, and Wayne Masters. They all the drivers on the lead lap. Lazarus was one lap down, and effectively Low, Wrigley, and Jaco Foster was out of it.
Bad luck of the day?
Foster.
Jaco Eskom Foster. Driver
of the day, I would choose Reinier Hubert. Fighter of the day.
Coming off the back of the pack, Reinier Hubert, I would give him driver of the day. Fighter of the day, Rudiger Schuster.
Yes.
Yep.
That is the man that I had in mind, because he was fighting the whole day or the whole event to get himself back up the leaderboard. So my driver is Reinier, bad luck Jaco Foster, and the fighter is Rudiger Schuster. And I agree with you, Gary. I'm looking forward to see more of that man in that 222 Porsche.
Yep, yeah, definitely. So that wraps it up from the Second Gear Production Studios. On behalf of the voice of West Province Motorsport, Frankie Yennis, the voice of SA Oval, myself, Gary Fleming, from the Second Gear Production Studios, I think we'll leave it to Emil, the radio man, Tiny Brunt from Tiny's Pitbox, to close off and say good night to you, one and all.
Oh, thank you very much, Gary and Frankie, for the opportunity. It's quite exciting session we had, and yeah, we'll see you guys pretty soon again at the racetrack.
Yeah, and remember, as Gary was saying earlier on, there's lots and lots of motorsport this weekend,
that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.